Okay. Now, one of the things I'm going to show you is uh, Dave Ellsworth, whenever he is turning a bowl, um, really insists on a very specific way of doing it. And you'll notice I'm uh, starting to work on a tenon here, and I'm also going to turn another little shelf here before I cut the rest of the bowl out. And his reasoning for doing that is he likes the inside of the bowl to be one nice smooth arc. And if you do that on the inside and you don't have some kind of a step, you get this. And I actually accomplished this during the weekend that I had down there. It makes funnels. And so what he recommends is this. You have your tenon, and then you have that squared piece so that whenever you turn the inside, you can have a nice smooth arc, and then you reverse it, and then you can trim this down to, a small foot or something or other. And that really makes a whole lot of sense. Um, so anyway, that's kind of what I'm going to do here. All right. Didn't bring calipers or anything today. Let's wipe that down just a little bit. Oops. Wipe that down just a little bit more. All right. The got a little hole out. It fits in real nice there if it's a 1-inch hole. I'm not even sure I needed a tailstock. Okay. Let's get this. Now let's see if I can shape this thing a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. Another thing that Dave really encouraged us to do is in order to make it a nice smooth curve, use your whole body, not just this motion. Um, Now I am not gonna, I think this will scoot all the way down, but I'm not gonna do that today. At home I do it. I just set the headstock toward the other end of the lathe, and that works real nice on the inside things, but not worth it today. Okay, get the headstock out of the way. Move this around, and when you do this, you make sure this is really cinched up good. The bigger the bowl, the more you cinch it up. Well, let's see what I can do on the inside. If I do that, I'm going to jab my elbow with this thing. You know I am. As I'm cutting in here, you can kind of hear it's a little. Well, that means I'm trying to be too aggressive with the cut. You can either speed up the lathe some and it'll smooth out, or you can slow down your cut and it will smooth out. Um, Creates a lot smoother edge if you don't do that uh, chunk stuff. So, but I'm trying to get through this fairly quickly, so I may speed up the lathe just a hair. It's at about 1,000 right now. Probably not. Probably not going to go to Randy Young speed, but you know, these are wet pieces. Even though this one, I don't know how wet it really is anymore, but let's see if I can get this in here a little bit. When you have too much of the tool hanging out, it kind of makes you bounce a little bit. That makes me nervous because you're more likely to catch an edge then. At least I am. Doing that twisting motion is a little harder when you're coming in from the side. A little bit more down at the bottom. See, herein lies the problem. I'm not doing that, and the bottom is not a uniform part. That should be a little better. I'm not liking it particularly well. Okay, then, when we had our sharpening workshop here, or open shop here a few weeks ago, um, Bill was talking about how he goes beyond just the grinding wheel and sharpens with a diamond hone for the final cut. And I'm thinking, gosh, how much difference could that make? Quite a bit, because I hadn't been doing that way. And so this one, I went ahead and just touched up with the diamond hone, and it it really does make for a nice, smooth, fine finish. I'm going to keep doing that. All right. Even sounds different. Come on. You ever use a scraper in there, right? Yeah, yeah, sometimes. Um, I just wanted to demonstrate a couple of other things today. So, um, okay, so now I'm going to flip this thing around. And I mean, this isn't a particularly thin wall, but again, that's not what I'm really after today. Um, the thickness is relatively uniform, so I'm happy with that part. Now, hmm, well, if it doesn't loosen up one way, it does the other. Okay, now I'm going to bring the tailstock back up here. Mm. Oh, you know, these little things that I don't know, I've seen around and about for turning the bottom of an uneven bowl. Notice mine has an insert in it and a little divot right in the bottom. I have had problems centering these things, and if you put that little divot in there, it is so much easier to center. I recommend it. Hmm? Yeah, you can go ahead and finish it off. Maybe slow it down just a little bit. That wasn't quite ready for that yet. But just so you know, that is how I normally finish off the bowl. I just slow down the speed. Normally, I use a smaller gouge so that I can take tinier and tinier cuts, and then just whack off that little bit and then flip off the lathe. Of course, normally I have my shut off over here, so it's a little easier to get to whenever I'm holding on to the bowl. Um, anyway, that's kind of how I do this. Um, I'll pass it around. Let you see. Um, okay, one thing. Yesterday when I turned the outside, the upper part of the outside, I did not use the really well honed gouge. I just used it regularly. Toward the bottom, there was a section that I used the diamond hone on, and then on the inside today I did. It could be a little better, but again, I was just wanting to do a quick and dirty demonstration. So go.
Did you jam shut us off?
Um, no, no, got the back end. Oh, I got the back end that I glued in. That is just
Oh, it's PVC.
yeah, it's PVC. Oh, and the rubbery thing is like just from one of the craft stores, the little rubber sheets that they have for, I don't know, $1.50 or so. Um, anyway, I find that to be a quite useful way to finish off the projects. So that's pretty much what I have today. Any questions?
I'm going to turn a small. Oh, and here's how I get it ready. I just take a block of wood, put some glue on it. Take a rip down a minute. Now I've got 2x2, 1.5 by 1.5. Put on the glue, rub it around till it gets kind of hard to move, and then I center it as best I can, just with eyeball. And you're done with it. Tomorrow you can come in and turn it. Make up a bunch of those, and then you got them ready. Eyeballing it again. Looks about halfway. This look like over here. You don't. You wait. You don't clamp that. No. Breathe.
Using tape on two or what? Or three? Two.
All right, look at that one. That's pretty close. That's pretty close. Tighten it in. Round the corners if you want. It's up to you. When Patton talks about a pole being on the lathe, he says if it's spinning less than 1,000 and it falls off, it'll probably just go on the ground. Probably right. What he doesn't tell us is that what happens is these little pieces can come off. Okay, and if you just have glasses on and I'm in the firing line and one of these little pieces comes off, there's crack or something, it will come in and hit you in the face, okay? You touch your jugular vein and get hit in the eye, it might knock your glasses off. But there's a lot of stuff going on here while you're in the firing line. So it's suggested that when you're in the firing line, you wear a face shield. You may wear face shields. You may do not. So you're all good. Good. I usually don't wear a face shield, and I won't do it when I'm outside the firing line. When I hollow this out, I won't have a face shield either. But I got to get better at wearing a face shield. About 1,000. I'm just going to round this thing off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look right over on each side of this top, and I want about a ½ inch on the bottom. So I'm going to hold my hand on this edge with this tip of the drill bit being a ½ inch from the bottom. And again, I'm just estimating. So I'll keep drilling until I get into that. My drill bit seems to go to Roger Shortman class. Now we're going in. Hollowing tools, carbide tipped, straight, real curvy, and kind of curvy.
Is that a technical shot?
That's a set. Yep.
What is it?
It's called a mini set from PSI. Now, when you're using these, you want to make sure that the tool rest is at least back to here. You don't want the tool rest up here in the curve. It'll put too much torque and tension on there. So make sure your tool rest is back, okay?
Dad likes to throw, the turning likes to throw your cutter and gouge if you
Yep.
set it on that curve.
Yep.
You'll never guess, and I know that.
Okay, so now I am out of the firing zone, right? So I can speed this thing up a little bit. And I take this off. And we're going in. Straight in the hole. Then I'm just rotating, just pivoting as far as it'll go. Okay. Then I put my finger, I line up both sides of the top of the vessel, put my finger on it, then line that up again. And that tells me where my bottom is. Okay. I want this to be about an 1/8 to 1/4 thick. So you can see right now I'm almost 3/4. Okay.
Sheriff, do you need trimmings blown out?
I got one. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, got one. I know we didn't have an air compressor. That's one way to do it. Another way is an air compressor. The third way is to take the piece off, dump it out, and all the stuff will come out.
Vacuum.
Vacuum, good. That's the fourth one. Some of the ways that you can tell how thick this thing is I've never had much luck with this, but Ellsworth loves this thing. So that's about 3/8 to a ½ of an inch in between the two. Okay. So if I hold this in here and let's just say, okay, let's say I'm right here without bending this. So now I know that the thickness of that wall is about half of this. You see how I did that? Everybody got that? Ron, you with me on that? Okay. Like this is 3/8 of an inch. Okay. If I stick this in that hole and this much of it, and this end is up against the inside of the wall, and this is like this, I know it's about half. Can you see that?
Yeah.
You with me? See if it's sticking up there like that. If it's here, I know I've got at least 3/8 thickness. Okay, so that's how this works. Another one is like this. So that's how thick this is right here. Okay, so let's cut some more of it out real quick. I'm gonna back up my tool wrist to get it off that curve. Now you can feel what's going on in there. You can feel when you hit from one edge to another. So I'm hitting right now, and if I put my finger right there and do this, that's going to give you an idea of what's going on. Okay? You might want to turn it off before you pull the tool out. Now I'm that thick. Okay? And on the bottom, I'm that thick. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this corner right here, and I'm going to knock off some of that bottom, and then I'll come back and try to start blending that in. I'll reach here as far as I can. I'm going to try to go with the curve the outside. Now what I'm doing is I'm starting on my left. I'm going to the center. When I get to the center, I lift up. Then when I get it to bite in the center, I'll go back around the curve. This little hole. So that's how thick it is. Okay. Nobody's gonna get their finger in there, so depending on what you're comfortable with, you can make this a half-inch thick if you want. This is the tough part, trying to find that middle. One thing they can do is they can look down the middle of that vessel and look at that bottom. They can see that bottom. Then I'll go to the bottom. Okay. Any questions?
You always say you can go either direction, but if you go in or thing.
Yep. Sure can. Yep. So then when I'm done with the inside, I come back out, sand the outside, come over to here. Part it off. Do that because I'm going to finish this. But I would part it off, fix that crack, finish the outside, and then part it off, and then take it to the disc sander and flatten the bottom, and sign it, finish it, and you're done. Let me. Huh?
How would you fix the crack?
Oh, I would mix up a combination of maple sawdust and type bond 2, and I would rub it in there. And then I would come back out and sand it smooth. And then if there's anything left, I would put, if there's any problems left, I would use thin super glue. And then while it's still wet, sand it. Sand that wet super glue, and all those fine particles will go in there and give you a good smooth surface. Any questions?
One